In the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, where mist clings to the trees and the winter winds howl through the valleys, there are tales that have haunted these forests for generations. Stories passed down through the ages, tales of spirits, hunger, and transformation. Stories of creatures that prowl the woods driven by endless and mindless hunger. But these aren't the stories meant to keep children out of the woods. No, these stories come from the very souls who live to tell the tale. And their encounters might just make you question what lurks in the shadows. In the early 1900s, a family of settlers was trapped by a brutal snowstorm in the remote Appalachian Mountains. The days grew colder, and food supplies ran dangerously low. The father, desperate to survive, was faced with an unimaginable decision: starve to death like his family or eat what was left of them to survive. Weeks later, when the storm passed, the neighbors found the man alone, gaunt and trembling. His family, gone. When asked what happened, his story was chilling. He claimed to have heard whispers in the wind, voices urging him to do what he did, to survive. But was it hunger that drove him to madness, or something more sinister? Some said he wasn't the same man anymore. His eyes, wide and frantic, spoke of something beyond human understanding. Some whispered that the Wendigo, the spirit of insatiable hunger, had possessed him, that his body wasn't all that got possessed. His very soul had been claimed by the monster of the woods. But the Wendigo's reach wasn't limited to just one family. In these mountains, there are whispers of others who have heard strange sounds in the woods, of figures seen lurking just beyond the trees, too tall, too thin, too unnatural. Some claim these beings are human, driven by hunger. Others say they are something else entirely. One man, lost in the mountains and driven by hunger, was said to have eaten the flesh of his son. His return to the village was met with shock. He was no longer the same. His skin hung loosely, his eyes wild and hollow, a stranger to those who once knew him. And his hunger, it was endless. The villagers feared what he had become, for the Wendigo spirit is said to possess those who partake in cannibalism. He was no longer human. He was a creature of hunger, an embodiment of greed, transformed into something predatory. The man was cast out, but the shadow of the Wendigo would follow him forever. Far to the south, in the lands of the Cherokee, there are stories of a spirit not unlike the Wendigo that prowls the forests in search of those who have broken sacred laws. A spirit of insatiable hunger that takes on many forms, a shadow in the trees, a whisper in the night. There are stories of a man who, lost and starving in the wilderness, turned to cannibalism to survive. When he returned to his village, he was no longer the same. His body had changed, and so had his soul. The Cherokee believed that he had become a vessel for the hungry spirit, driven by an endless need to consume. He became a hollow shell of what he once was, consumed by a need that could never be sated. A spirit that, once it had its grip on you, would never let go. But not all hungry spirits are of flesh and bone. In Cherokee lore, there is a spirit known as the Raven Mocker, a creature that preys on the sick and dying. It is said to drain the very life force of its victims, leaving them hollow and lifeless. Some say the Raven Mocker is a soul lost to greed, someone who, in life, gave in to their darkest desires. Now, it roams, seeking out those who are weak, ready to take what little remains of their essence, and in doing so, it feeds forever. Whether you call it the Wendigo, the Raven Mocker, or something else entirely, these stories from the Appalachian Mountains and Cherokee folklore share a common thread: a warning against the dangers of hunger, both physical and spiritual. A reminder that when we lose our humanity, we risk becoming something monstrous, something that can never be sated. So next time you wander into the wilderness, remember, not all who are lost return the same. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more terrifying tales.